Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the celebration for the graduates of the Master of Development Engineering program, class of 2025. And welcome to the University of California at Berkeley, which sits on the ancestral land of the Ohlone people. My name is Kara Nelson, and I'm a professor of civil and environmental engineering, and it is my immense pleasure to serve as the chair of the Development Engineering program. And this night is filled with many emotions. So I invite all of you, whether you're a graduate or here celebrating a graduate, to raise your hand if you're feeling nervous. How about if you're feeling happy? How about if you're feeling a little sad? And how about if you're feeling a little bit relieved? That's a lot to hold, right? All of the above. I'm having all these emotions myself, and I've been to a lot of graduation ceremonies. But this one has a very special meaning to me. As many of the students have heard me say, this is the program that I wish had existed when I was a student. And in fact, I was a student here at UC Berkeley over 30 years ago. And I had to invent my own unconventional path to find the classes and gain the experience I wanted. Even when I started my career as a professor here over 20 years ago, this field and this program did not exist. The Blum Center is what provided the catalyst by bringing together like-minded faculty, staff, and students who shared a vision that eventually gave birth to the field of development engineering. And for me personally, when that happened, I finally realized, aha, that's what I am. I'm a development engineer. And I'm sharing this story with you to make sure that none of us take for granted how special this moment is. Our graduates today are the fourth class to graduate from our Master of Development Engineering, and we are so glad that you found us. So next, I want to invite one of our graduates to say a few words of welcome to all of our guests who are here celebrating the graduates today. So please welcome Arnita Mornanditias.
Thank you. I can see you all. Good evening, everyone. My name is Arnita Ruth Murnadityas, and I would like to welcome you all to the graduation of the Master of Development Engineering class of 2025. We have finally reached the end of this journey after countless assignments and many restless nights. None of us would be here today without the support of those who have always stood by us. Our families, friends, partners, mentors, and our cohort. To MDevEng 2025 cohort, you guys. By now, we should know what being a development engineer is, right? Even if we do not, or if our definitions differ, one thing I know is this: I no longer feel lost. I have found you all, my people. Bon voyage, and good luck on the journeys ahead. Now, I invite us all to take a moment to show our appreciation to those who have supported us, here and from afar, from all around the world, including my mom and family in Indonesia. We deeply appreciate you all. So graduates, let us stand and give a round of applause to everyone who has supported us along the way. Thank you. You may now take your seats. Now I would like to welcome Prof. Kara Nelson back to the stage. Thank you.
Now I want to share with you a little bit more about the graduating class of 2025. Our 28 graduates come from 13 different countries around the world. And you are truly what makes this program so special by bringing your unique life experiences, your perspectives, your brilliance, your talents, and your dreams, and sharing them with each other as we have learned and grown together. Let's reflect for a moment on what has happened since you started 16 months ago. You have accomplished a lot, including you have taken a lot of very difficult and rigorous classes, you've worked on many team projects, you completed your summer internship, and this semester, your capstone design project. But that doesn't capture the ways in which you have likely been transformed through this journey. In this program, you have had to face difficult truths about power and inequality, talk about issues that make us deeply uncomfortable, apply critical thinking skills to challenge conventional narratives. You've had to learn how to approach problems from multiple perspectives and not necessarily resolve them, but to recognize that sometimes we just need to be able to hold complexity. You have learned to see connections between problems using systems thinking. You have learned that technology has tremendous potential to address challenges faced by low-resource communities, but that technology is only part of the solution, and that some of the most valuable knowledge resides within communities with whom we strive to work in partnership. Another tenet of development engineering is that we never give up. We keep learning from our failures, applying our critical thinking, listening to each other, and trying again. And so, graduates, we celebrate the hard work you have put into this program, and we honor your courage, tenacity, and compassion. We thank you for the work that you are doing to make this world a more just, more equitable, and more peaceful place. You are truly an inspiration to all of us. It takes a tremendous team to guide and support students from when they first contact us to start learning about the program all the way up until this moment. So I next want to introduce and recognize our larger DevEng community. So I'd like to ask you to please stand as I call your name and remain standing until we acknowledge all the members of our DevEng faculty and staff. So starting with our core faculty, Professor Emeritus Alice Agagino, who was the founder of this program, Professor Amy Pickering, whom you all know very well. Not in attendance with us tonight, but Professor Dan Fletcher, who's the faculty director of the Blum Center, and Professor Matthew Potts, as well as the instructors for our core classes, Ash Seth, Dr. Danny Wilson, Dr. Khalid Kadir, Yulia. We'll let him know. They all wish they were here. Yulia Grinkrug and Ted Howe, and all of the faculty on our advising committee and the advisors for your capstone projects. I'd also like to recognize, so stay standing, Steve Isaacs, please stand. As you know, Steve has been a close friend of our program throughout its inception. Steve has been focused on societal impact throughout his own career in the biomedical field, through the work he and his family do with rural communities in Africa and the individual support he provides to many of our students. All right, take a breath, but we're not done yet. I now want to thank our core staff that directly support our MDevEng students. So Dr. Ariel Perez, our program director. Adrienne Johnson, our career development manager. Brittany Bird, our outreach and marketing manager, and Chetan Chowdhury, the Blum Center's director of student programs, who's currently in India with his family, and our student assistants who have worked at the Blum Center to contribute to our advising and student support, so Mark Barron, Neil Simpson, and Pratyush Singh. You stand. And I'm not sure if we have anyone here tonight from the Center for African Studies who is absolutely essential through their support of the MasterCard Foundation Scholarship. So if anyone's here, please also stand. And let's give a huge round of applause to everyone. All right, you may be seated. Now, if you're slightly feeling uncomfortable in your seats because you noticed that I left out a key person, that was intentional. Valerie Moss, our program manager and student advisor. Valerie has been with the program since it started, and she will be spreading her wings to start a new job in January. So Valerie, I'd like you to join me on the stage so that we can properly thank you. We are truly indebted. Well, I'll wait for you to get up here. Here. Oh, okay. Valerie, we are truly, truly indebted for your commitment to our students and the many, many ways, the innumerable ways in which you have supported their success. We are going to miss you, and you always have a home in Blum Hall.
The full team.
Thank you. A gift from our team, which cannot begin to really demonstrate all the ways in which we appreciate and thank you. We're going to miss you.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to our graduates. You will soon be joining our alumni community. So if you are an alumnus of this program, I'd like to ask you to stand. So our alumni community now consists of the three graduating classes before you, as well as the PhD students from the development engineering designated emphasis, like our commencement speaker tonight. And that program is over 10 years old, and the many students who graduated before development engineering was even officially a program. One of the things that makes this program so rich is the connections we keep with our alumni who come back to share their knowledge through guest lectures, serving as mentors for projects, and providing internships and jobs. So we hope that you will become mentors and champions for our future students and discover the joy that comes from inspiring others. I want to end my remarks by thanking you, the graduates, as well as the friends and family, for trusting us on the journey that you have been on for the last 1.5 years. It's been my immense pleasure to be part of it. Congratulations, and go Bears! And now I will hand things over to Valerie to introduce our student speaker.
Okay, hello everyone. So my name is Valerie. I am the Assistant Director of Student Affairs with the MDevEng program for about 4 more hours. It is my pleasure to introduce Pratyush Singh as our graduation speaker. Pratyush completed his undergraduate degree with a Bachelor's of Civil Engineering from UC Berkeley, so he's already a UC Berkeley alum. His impact at the UC Berkeley community wasn't small during his time in undergraduate. He served 2 terms as the president of the Indian Students Association, represented undergraduate students on the Chancellor's Asian American Pacific Islander Committee, and founded not only 1, but 2 startups. Through these positions and the global COVID-19 pandemic, Pratyush noticed that both his community at home in central India and his community here at Berkeley were underserved and under-resourced. To provide more support to these communities, Pratyush co-founded a startup, DART, to leverage his educational background and the support he received from his parents in pursuing a degree abroad. DART's mission also focused on global issues and reducing inequity that high school students face and addressing resources to continue their education. At the same time, Pratyush founded Handmaidly to help struggling local artists sustain and sell their art in central India. To ensure he took the right next steps, Pratyush spent a few years after his undergraduate career as a staff civil engineer and a structural design engineer. While Pratyush's technical skills expanded, he found himself increasingly committed to his passion for putting the community and social justice first, no matter which specialty he decided to pursue. After being admitted to the Masters of Development Engineering program, Pratyush hit the ground running. He rejoined the Chancellor's Asian American Pacific Islander Advisory Committee. He served as the Chief of Staff for the Office of Campus Affairs in the Graduate Assembly. He developed a chlorine sensor system with the Pickering Lab that went on to be recognized at the Global Humanitarian Technology Conference in Colorado. There's still more. He interned with Arcadis as a climate data analyst, where he developed a resilience hub strategy for Washington, D.C. to help communities find safe shelter during extreme weather events. and served as one of our 3 inaugural DevEng peer advisors. Also, shout out to Neil, shout out to Mark. They've already been shout out, but those were the other 2 peer advisors. On top of that, the DevEng program requires students to complete a capstone project as part of their graduation requirements. Pratyush worked with an absolutely new faculty member to our ecosystem and worked directly with the Akis Lab and Dr. David Gonzalez to analyze heat-related mortality in Mexico to understand how risks have changed over time. Pratyush found that unemployment makes people more vulnerable to dying in extreme heat, places a heavier burden on women, and exposes the weakness of municipalities where heat deaths are most severe. While there are countless more accolades I could share about Pratyush, the core of his pursuits has never strayed from centering community. Before letting you hear from Pratyush, I want to leave you with a moment that I was reminded of as I prepared for his introduction. Part of my role is to advise applicants before they've even submitted their admissions materials. During one of our appointments, as Pratyush was prepping his application, I got a glimpse of the work he had been doing. Pratyush submitted a supplemental piece of work on a place very near and dear to my heart, Merced, California. In the paper, Pratyush detailed how the Merced community, composed of poor, undereducated laborers, relies on over 1.1 million acres of farmland to fund its community. Residents of Merced spent many of their days fearing the economic impacts of little rain and extremely hot summer months on their ability to provide for their own community. Even before attending this program, Pratyush had a key eye for proposing community-driven solutions. As a former member of the Merced community, go Bobcats, papers like Pratyush's not only made me proud that the small town that I went to college in was making big waves and had a seat at a table and an advocate. It also showed me that the issues of its residents, aka me, were being heard by someone who cares enough to try to find short and long-term solutions with our voices. While that essay struck a chord with me, it broadly speaks to the person Pratyush is: passionate, thoughtful, and analytical. Please join me in welcoming Pratyush to the stage.
Thanks for that introduction, Valerie. I'm honored to represent the graduating class of 2025 as the student speaker. Mom, Dad, hey, surprise. I did not get here alone. None of us did. Behind each of us is a constellation of sacrifices that will never show up on our resumes. Missed meals, missed sleep, our partners, families, friends who've supported us to get here. So today, with the privilege of being heard, I will use this mic with care to tell you my story, but also to honor the shared stories that shaped us quietly but consistently. Before I begin, I want to anchor everyone to 3 compasses that have guided me through this program, with the hope that it resonates with you. The first compass of where do I come from? The question has been a reminder of history, sacrifices, and quiet hands that have shaped how I view the world. The second compass of how do I define the problems? This has helped guide my work to center communities and trust. And the third compass of who did I become along the way? I've tried to reflect beyond the grades and the grants to think about the integrity, care, and belonging I want to center in the work forward. So let me begin with the first one, where I come from. I've had the privilege of walking through cities my parents once imagined, carrying with me the quiet cost of their courage and some guilt. For many of us, elders, children, immigrants, our lives are never ours alone. We were shaped by the sacrifices we only recognized once we learned to name them. We belong to more than one world, living in 2 languages, loving in 2 cultures, and carrying expectations that don't always align. In the space between who we were expected to be and who we wanted to become, we made our home in the in-between, made of memory, contradiction, and stubborn resilience. Maybe that tension is what forged us. It taught us to move through uncertainty, to meet difficulty with resourcefulness, because ideas are easy to admire from a distance. It's the choosing and trying again that makes those real. And here we are, through figuring it out and learning so many new things. Standing together with this graduating class of 2025 is a reminder why this program matters beyond any curriculum. This also shaped my second compass, the way I understand my responsibility in the world. Before I began this program, I felt divided between two lives. One personal, shaped by migration, grief, and belonging. And then professional, shaped by engineering, data, and design. Both real, but it was really hard to see those intersect. Development engineering changed that for me. It gave me the space to braid these two worlds together. More importantly, it brought us together. We thought together, questioned together, and kept each other grounded in why this work matters. Now let's take a moment to think about the people who helped us get here and shaped our curiosity by while we were here. As you can feel in the room, the value of this program was never just technical, it lives in the people. The questions and the care we shared. Even as I built chlorination systems for hand pumps in Kenya, mentored by Professor Amy Pickering, thank you, Amy, the heart of that work wasn't breaking prototypes and iterating through failures with Aiden in the lab. The importance wasn't just in learning environmental justice theories. It was in long afternoons with Sana when we wrestled with hard questions of what does justice really mean? What is our accountability as an engineer? And the learning wasn't just in taking machine learning classes or analyzing public health data. It was in moments with Ernita questioning the ethics of what we're doing. From sharing resources with Karen and Neil and Blum to learning through Gloria and Senya's passions, I was constantly inspired by the generosity and the brilliance of this community. These are just very few moments with each of you, and variations of these stories live within all of us. In hindsight, the gift of development engineering to me is to think about the technical and the human in the same hand. I leave with a way of seeing. One that showed me that who I am and what I want to do are not competing worlds. They're the part of the same story. As I think about the last compass, who do we become as a graduate? I need to also acknowledge the darkness around us. This year has been an incredibly difficult year to think about justice and development. One marked by funding cuts, institutional uncertainty, and the painful realization that the very work we are trained to do stands on very fragile institutions. The safety nets we assumed would hold us have frayed. The commitments we trusted have been shaken. If anything, this fracture makes our work much more urgent, much more important, and much more necessary. Justice is never guaranteed by institutions. It survives because people, hopefully some of us, all of us, choose to carry it forward. Berkeley has been a place where values of freedom of expression, care, and dissent are lived and not just stated. Even as those institutional values feel under attack, this campus gave my 17-year-old uncertain self the place to think, to hope, and to belong. I'm sure we all found our safe spaces on campus and spaces that made us think and question and just be better advocates. I hope we carry that light with us wherever we go, not as nostalgia, but as responsibility. And responsibility not to this institution, but to the people who fought and shaped those values for us to take and build on. We graduate into a world that is not just complicated, heavy, but history shows that even in the darkest moments, people have loved, created, resisted, and endured. I hope we're a part of that pulse. With that, thank you to our professors, my mentors, Amy Pickering, Cara Nelson, here on the stage. Thank you. Also, Professor David Gonzalez, Professor Mara Kaskio. Thank you for giving us a space big enough to think, but also to be gentle. And what I've learned the most from all my mentors is how to reduce the distance between design and compassion, and I hope to carry that forward. To my parents, my family, to our families and our parents. Every step we take is built on the steps you never got to. Every achievement here carries your fingerprints, your sacrifices, and your dreams folded quietly into our dreams. Thank you, Naisha, for always cheering me the loudest, and Eli for always supporting me as I shaped the ideas and found my footing in development engineering. To the class of 2025, thank you for the debates, for the shared doubts, and the stubborn hope. The hope that we protected for one another when it was really hard to think about the world that we're entering in. You made this place feel braver and kinder than I expected grad school to be. I will keep our friendships close, and I will always keep thinking about your passions dearly. So please continue thinking about your passions dearly as well. Hope we continue to hold on to this community with care and accountability. I believe in us. May we champion development engineering for the curiosity and the courage it makes possible, and carry these lessons forward to imagine a world that refuses to leave anyone behind. I'll end with a quote from Frederick Joseph from Better Than We Found It, one of my favorite books. It's going to be okay, not because the world will suddenly become just, but because history proves that even in the darkest times, people will find ways to love, to create, to fight, and to endure. Empires have risen and crumbled. Movements have been crushed and reborn. But the pulse of who refuse to surrender to despair, to hatred, to silence has never stopped. If you're here, breathing, bearing witness, holding on to even the smallest ember of hope in your work, then you're a part of that unbroken lineage. No single moment, no single leader, and no single disappointment is the sum of what we are, and most importantly, what we can be. Thank you for listening, for walking down this road with me, and for contributions in shaping me as a student, as a person, and as a friend. Congratulations, class of 2025. You're my favorite.
Okay, and we will now begin the graduate recognition. As each graduate's name is called, Adrian Johnson, our Director of Partnership and Career Development, and Valerie Moss, our Assistant Director of Student Affairs, for only a few hours more, will read the name along with the few words each student wrote about their development engineering experience. Each graduate will come up to the stage, receive their certificates from Professor Kara Nelson and Professor Amy Pickering. And we are ready. No, don't worry. No, don't worry.
Okay, go ahead, start. Arnita Ruth Mernanditas. From Indonesia to the United States, Arnita continued her quest to make healthcare accessible for all. Through her internship in Capstone, she built AI-based screening tools and evaluated existing models in teleophthalmology, marking a new beginning where data lights the path and technology serves humanity. Pratyush Singh. Pratyush bridged data, design, and justice by advancing urban flood resilience and safe water infrastructure through sensor-based monitoring. He integrated engineering, data science, and public health to design equitable infrastructure. His capstone applied machine learning and statistical tools to study heat-related mortality across Mexico. Ksenia Kapatuskaya. Ksenia completed her capstone under the supervision of Professor Agogino, where she researched deployment pathways for a methane remote sensor in the oil and gas sector and provided insights to inform future technology design. Niyati Chowdhury. Niyati worked with seniors at Piedmont Gardens to explore the relationship between loneliness and technology, inspiring her interest in AI-human interaction and AI ethics. Christian Yeseshimwe. Through his work with Professor Leila Kwong, Christian refined development as power shared, not given. From working with communities to track the impact of solar electrification in rural health facilities to repurposing retired EV batteries for clean cooking in refugee camps. His work affirms that development begins with dignity and community voice. Ooh, wait, Gloria. Cherotich. Okay. Gloria Cherotich Tanui. Gloria is an architect, graphic designer, and now development engineer. She interned with Navajo Technical University, supporting storytelling on engineering projects. Her capstone with UC Berkeley's Possibility Lab focused on the impact model and research for evidence-based approaches, advancing inclusive civic engagement for public policy decisions. Okay, next year, small words. Anna Maria Geoffrey Assay. Anna Maria built data pipelines as an integrations engineer at a GovTech startup and completed a capstone mapping post-disaster power outages with satellite data. She hopes to use AI and data to create impact in underserved communities. Nicholas Edward Isley. Nicholas completed his capstone with Professor Gutierrez researching biogenic materials and their performance in flood-resilient infrastructure designs. Mark Philippi Band. Mark spent his time working to understand how infrastructure and culture inform each other. His capstone reflects this by imagining what a car-free San Francisco would look like. He spent his summer in the Navajo Nation designing a class on solar energy and doing marketing and climate work for Engineers Without Borders USA.
Abalom Abraham. Abalom interned in air quality at the Navajo Technical University in New Mexico, where he explored causes of rising asthma among Navajo children and raised awareness about respiratory problems. He completed his capstone with Professor Jennifer on water issues in the Passamaquoddy community, creating roadmaps to improve access to safe water. Neil Simpson. Neil worked on his capstone with Dr. Matthew Potts, where he applied remote sensing methods to study ecological impacts of lithium mining in South America. Karen Mason. Karen worked with the Center for Effective Global Action, analyzing evidence-informed interventions for small-scale farmers in sub-Saharan Africa. She completed her capstone with Dr. Khalid Kadir, developing a data-driven and community-informed framework for language justice and food security in San Francisco. Oksana Batsuka. Sorry if I mispronounced that. In The Prophet, Gibeon writes that we are but witnesses of life's giving. Through development engineering, Sana has embraced this, studying the systems driving Ulaanbaatar's air pollution. Her work with Breathe Mongolian and Gurhub fuels hope that soon the news will be of clean air and joyful living. Aidan Mahoney. Aidan worked with the Pickering Lab designing inline chlorination solutions and did his capstone on gender-based violence in Zambia. He's thankful for the program as it expanded his idea of what engineering and development really are. Fatima Kanwar. Fatima served as an intern at the Indian Health Services, where she worked on water and wastewater engineering projects for native tribes in the Great Plains region. Her capstone, under the mentorship of Dr. Jennifer Stokes-Drott, addressed drinking water technologies for the Passamaquoddy tribe in Pleasant Point, Maine. Zihao Zhao. Zihao completed his capstone in the Fletcher Lab, working with postdoctoral researcher Maria Diaz de Leon Derby, under the supervision of Dan Fletcher, to develop AI-based portable diagnostic tools for negligent tropical diseases in low-resource settings. Dian Heng. Dian interned with Zone 7 Water Agency, where he developed advanced public-facing flood risk maps and early warning tools that translated complex hydrologic models into accessible insights, empowering communities and policymakers to strengthen climate resilience across Alameda County. Songdae Nam. Songdae completed his capstone with Professor Matt Potts and Oliver, where he researched in analyzing topic trends in environment areas and proposing a metric to quantify it with topic modeling. Sadiq Pramana. Sadiq Pramana applied AI and data analytics to improve flood risk modeling and digital governance. Over the summer, he collaborated with Navajo Technical University as part of the NASA Minority University research and education products to advance STEM education for Indigenous communities. He used technology for community and inclusive local development. Mingxi Tang. Mingxi advanced the use of AI for social impact, creating tools that help small businesses transition to employee ownership and building ML models that improve detection accuracy in low-resource STH diagnostics. That's very classic. She also led Berkeley's Emerging Technology Association, which deepened her interest in crypto and grew as an innovative builder. Yifei Ding. Yifei completed her capstone with Dr. Paige Balcom, where she conducted a life cycle sustainability assessment to quantify the environmental and social impacts of Taka Taka Plastics recycling model in Uganda. Mason Ma. Mason completed her capstone with Dr. Maria in the Fletcher Lab, advancing AI-based image analysis for the NTD scope, a portable diagnostic microscope to design and detect parasitic infections in low-resource field settings. Zaiming Xu. Zaiming completed her capstone with Professor Louis Ceferino, building an automated street view plus YOLO system to estimate first floor elevation from house facades, a triage tool helping flood-prone communities assess risks and plan adaptations. Yalu Pan. Yalu served as an education researcher in the Navajo Technical University for the NASA Minority University Research and Education Project. Her capstone aims to bridge the gap between engineering students and social impact by prototyping a DevEng online learning platform. She also worked as an AI engineer intern to help improve an AI chatbot for mental health. Okay, we got two more. Keep the energy up. Yufeng Yang. Yufeng collaborated with Professor Luis Ceferino on a capstone that applies NASA VERS satellite imagery and machine learning to forecast power grid recovery after disasters, contributing to the resilient energy systems for data centers and communities. Annette Kanjumba. Annette completed her capstone with Taka Taka Plastics, where she assessed the environmental, social, and economic impacts and benefits associated with recycling post-consumer PET bottles into tiles using the Life Cycle Sustainability Assessment Framework.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Now it's official. One round of applause for everyone. So my name is Yael Perez, and I'm the Director of the Development Engineering Programs here at the Blum Center. I am honored to introduce our commencement speaker, Dr. Paige Balcom. Paige, yeah, we can definitely. Paige joined us today during a brief but meaningful stop in Berkeley, a bridge between her current home in Uganda and her family home in New Hampshire. But as a graduate of this program, we also feel we've brought her back for a few days at home here in Berkeley. Paige received her PhD in Mechanical Engineering and Development Engineering from UC Berkeley in 2022. She was actually part of the DevEng before I was. I first met her during my very first year at the Blum Center while I was working with Professor Alice Agugino on innovation at the nexus of food, energy, and water system, the Infuse program that Paige was part of. At that time, Paige was already working on her research on heat transfer to create small-scale machines that transform plastic bottles into construction materials. Coming from an architecture background, I was immediately intrigued by the product, though I'll admit it took me some time to see the complexity of the connection to food and energy and water system. Beyond, of course, the fact that they were water bottles transformed. We invited Paige today because she is the embodiment of what it means to be a development engineer. If the joke among our students, or sometimes the complaint, is that even at on graduation day, they're still not entirely sure how to define development engineering, as you heard from Arnita, Paige is the answer. She shows us that it isn't just a degree, it's a lifestyle. It requires being a person of many talents, someone who moves beyond their main discipline and expertise, beyond their main discipline and expertise, to think with urgency and creativity about sustainability, impact, and context. Paige's leadership and impact have been widely recognized nationally and internationally. On campus, she received multiple Big Ideas Awards, including the top prize for scaling up. She also won the Lemonson MIT Graduate Student Prize while still on campus in Berkeley. Then, in 2024, she was named a One Young World Audi Foundation Ambassador. And just recently, the Alnoba Foundation honored her with the Gutsy Young Leaders Awards. I'm skipping over several other recognitions and prestigious recognitions just to keep us all on schedule. As the co-founder of Takataka Plastics in Gulu, Uganda, a venture she started as part of her PhD here, Paige worked with local partners to develop appropriate small-scale technologies. Her machine transformed the PET plastic that once clogged local creeks and streets into durable wall tiles, and during the pandemic, they quickly designed and manufactured protective face shields for Gulu Hospital, and they also created small items, like the coasters that I should have had in my hand, but I have them. Like these coasters, just a sample. Yeah, like this coaster, I'm back. But beyond the machine that produced these, what truly defines Takataka Plastic is a deep commitment to the community. By employing youth who face significant barriers to employment, Paige ensures that technology directly meets and benefits people. That is where a long-lasting impact is made. So when you look at these taka-taka samples, you're holding a piece of engineering, entrepreneurship, and community collaboration. You're holding empowerment, hope, and yes, something that used to be a plastic bottle cap. Paige shows us that engineering is not just about what we build, but how and with whom we build it. And she does all this, while still mentoring students on 2 continents. We are incredibly honored to welcome her back to Berkeley. Please join me in welcoming our commencement speaker, Paige Balcom. Leave you this for good luck.
Well, thank you, Yael, for that very kind introduction. And congratulations to all of you, the graduating class of UC Berkeley Master of Development Engineering. It's an honor to be with you here today. And it's been really special for me to be back here on campus the last couple of days. It's my first time back to Berkeley since I graduated 3.5 years ago. And I found myself reflecting on when I first came to Berkeley and when I first started graduate school. One of my first memories here was actually sitting in Alice's office and bursting into tears, crying. Yeah, I was making great impressions in my first week of grad school. But when I showed up to Berkeley to start my PhD, I had just spent nearly a year living in a village in Uganda. And while I was there, I had made deep friendships, and I was very sad to leave. So when I arrived at Berkeley, I was confused, lost, I had a lot of questions, and few answers. I thought Alice might have some answers, so that's why I went to her office hours on a Friday afternoon. I was the only student who showed up. I think all the others were enjoying their first weekend in Berkeley. But Alice welcomed me, at that point not really even knowing who I was, and listened to me ramble and break into tears. I remember telling Alice that I felt like all the solutions to development engineering already existed, that we know the solutions, we just need to implement them. And that I couldn't figure out how my background in mechanical engineering could help my friends in Uganda. Alice listened patiently, handed me a tissue, and gently explained that there are still a lot of unsolved problems. There is still a huge need for innovation and new ideas. And she explained why context really matters. A solution might work in one place, but that doesn't mean it will work in another community. So when I started at Berkeley, I had deep passion and motivation, but I was lost. I had a strong motive, but I didn't have the skills to make real impact. Through the development engineering program and the Big Ideas competition, I learned how to apply my motivation to solve real-world problems sustainably. While learning that, I co-founded Taka Taka Plastics, a social enterprise in northern Uganda, locally recycling plastic waste and creating jobs for vulnerable youth. 5 years later, we're now employing almost 60 full-time staff. We're the first company in Uganda to locally recycle water and soda bottles at scale. And we're super excited that we're currently constructing a full recycling and plastic manufacturing facility in Gulu, Uganda. I've learned so much from building Taka Taka Plastics, and I'm grateful for the opportunity today to share some of those lessons about sustainable development and leadership with you. So first, I want to take a moment and ask you all to reflect on your motives. What made you originally apply to this program? Why have you chosen to invest 1.5 years of your life here at Berkeley? Some of you may have come with a very clear sense of purpose, a community you care deeply about, or a problem you were passionate about solving. Others may have come to Berkeley because it's a great school, a great credential, or maybe you just didn't know what to do next. All of those reasons are valid. Everyone has different motives, different things that drive us. And why you came here doesn't matter so much. What matters now is what your motive is today. Over the past year and a half, you've learned that development work is complex. You've seen trade-offs, unintended consequences, politics, power dynamics, and the limits of good intentions. If your motive has evolved, you become more grounded, more informed, more humble, that's a good thing. And motive isn't something that you think about once. It's something you revisit regularly. At the start of every project, when timelines start to slip, when there's pushback, when funding gets tight, and when the work gets hard, you have to remember your motive. Because sustainable development work is hard and it's slow. Development engineering is long game work. And at the center of that long game is trust. Trust takes time to build. It's built through listening, through showing up consistently, and through involving stakeholders as partners, not just as beneficiaries. Trust is built through co-design, transparency, and doing what you say you're going to do. And trust is fragile. You can lose it. Trust takes effort to maintain. It can be damaged quickly by rushing, by ignoring local knowledge, or by prioritizing short-term wins over long-term relationships. But without trust, even the best technical solutions don't last. But when stakeholders trust you enough to give their honest feedback, when you authentically involve their input in design, the solution will be much better, and it will have a much higher chance of actually being used long-term. With trust, work becomes more sustainable, more resilient, and ultimately more impactful. And impact isn't seen the moment something launches. Impact's not when the first tile comes off the production line and you snap a picture excitedly. Impact is when the problem no longer exists because people are still using your solution years later. And to build sustainable solutions, you need a team. But I've learned that getting people to work together in unity toward a shared goal is not easy. I used to think that if we could just figure out how to make a PET tile that's not brittle, that we'd be golden. Taka Taka would be successful. I was very focused on the engineering challenges, but I realized that managing people is actually often harder than the technical work. Because people come with different motives, experiences, power, perspectives. They bring history, trauma, emotions into every system. But that is exactly what you've been learning in this program. You've learned not just how to design technical solutions, but how to listen, understand context, analyze stakeholders, and navigate power dynamics and relationships. That's why you are equipped to work on the hardest, most intertwined problems in the world. Because those problems are not just technical, they're human. And because people are the most difficult part of the system, good leadership is essential. Many of you will become leaders, whether you seek it or not. Just the fact that you have a degree from UC Berkeley will open doors of opportunity for you. People will look to you as experts, which is great. You've worked really hard to earn this degree. But I really urge you to steward your Berkeley degree with humility. Admit when you don't know something. A few years ago, I felt like Taka Taka was stagnating. We were working hard, but we weren't moving forward. And eventually I realized the problem was not our mission, wasn't our team, not even funding. The problem was our leadership. When we started Taka Taka, my co-founder and I didn't really know what we were doing. I studied mechanical engineering. Peter was from IT. Neither of us had studied business and we had basically no formal leadership training. And suddenly, we found ourselves leading a company of over 40 people. I didn't know how to read a monthly P&L report. We jumped from idea to idea without a clear strategy. We weren't delegating well. I'd end every day exhausted, but we weren't getting anywhere. I felt like I was running on a hamster wheel. But things began to change when I realized I was limiting my team because I didn't know what I was doing. So I started learning, reading books, listening to podcasts, learning about leadership, especially in entrepreneurship, and then started applying what I was learning. It took time. Most people don't like to change. But over a couple of years, our structure and culture became healthier. Our staff are now happier, and this year, Taka has made real progress. Leadership is not something you graduate with. It's not something you're born with. Leadership is something you commit to learning and practicing. So I encourage you to don't stop investing in yourself now that school is over. Have the humility to look in the mirror and recognize when you're the bottleneck. You've learned skills in this program. That's great. And if you apply those skills yourself, you can make a small splash. But with a team working alongside you, you can make a ripple of impact. So, if you want to make big impacts, invest in learning how to lead. Many of you right now might feel like you're graduating into a time of uncertainty. Policies and funding priorities are shifting. AI is changing how we work. But you are equipped to navigate uncertainty and complexity. That's exactly what this program has trained you to do. We're entering a future where technology, especially AI, is making technical answers faster and cheaper than ever before. We can learn, code, analyze, and write faster and better than ever. I even used ChatGPT to help me write this speech. But AI cannot define values. It cannot weigh moral trade-offs. It cannot build trust. And it cannot listen deeply to communities. As tools get faster, the need for human judgment becomes greater. The world needs development engineers who can sit with complexity, who can think holistically, integrate technical, social, economic, and political realities, and choose not just what is possible, but what is responsible. As more and more tasks become automated, we need people who can listen, synthesize information from different sources and stakeholders, identify gaps in what AI spits out, and creatively combine interdisciplinary solutions. Those are exactly the skills you've learned in development engineering. Those are the skills that will make you uniquely valuable in the workforce and equip you to solve the world's most challenging problems. When I cried in Alice's office 8 years ago, I felt lost. But the knowledge and skills that I learned in development engineering at Berkeley helped me organize what I was thinking and observing in the world around me into a path forward. And you can do the same. As graduates of the UC Berkeley's Masters in Development Engineering program, you now have tools, perspective, and influence. What matters next is how you choose to use them. The world needs your skills and your ability to think holistically now more than ever. In this era of accelerating technology, we need your informed judgment, your ability to listen, to weigh trade-offs, and to act with care. So, choose to use what you've learned at Berkeley to make the world a better place. Remembering that the hardest problems you'll face won't just be technical, they'll be human. Remember your motives. Be patient, build trust, play the long game. Steward your Berkeley degree with humility and choose to lead well. I can't wait to see the impacts that you're going to make. Congratulations, class of 2025.
Thank you so much, Paige, for sharing your journey. It was very inspirational. I feel like a better person just by sitting next to you. So I have the easy job of concluding the ceremony. I just wanted to say a couple of words before we do that. You are all now officially development engineers with a degree to prove it. Congratulations. I feel like from the first day I met all of you in DevEng 200, I've had the real privilege of watching you travel through this journey of getting your degrees. And it's been so amazing, and I've been so impressed by your work and your contributions, from using remote sensing data to look at power outages after natural disasters, to facilitating clean cooking in refugee settlements in Rwanda. The work you all are doing is truly inspirational. And your passion has really shone through for making the world a better place. I think I can speak from all of us here at the Blum Center that we hope to stay connected with all of you in the future. And I encourage you all to keep leaning on each other, because you've built this amazing community, and you have now this community of support as you go out and continue to solve the world's problems. So before we close, I also want to give a big shout out to the Blum Center staff who's made this event possible, including Yale, Valerie, Adrian, Sam, Phillips, Irene, and Chayton. They've worked really hard to make this possible. To celebrate with all of us, we're going to have a reception across the plaza in Blum Hall in the downstairs area. It will be in a classroom, but there will be no more assignments or exams because you all are done. Before we head over there, we're going to do a photo here up on stage. And I just want to do one final congratulations to the class of 2025 development engineers. Please stand and applaud for our development engineers. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
If you're a graduate, come up on the stage. If you are a friend or family of the graduate, please go to the reception. I promise you will get all, oh, here we go. Okay. Friends and family, please be ushered by this lovely woman right here, Adrian, to the reception. Graduates, please come up on stage for the photo. I promise you all will get this photo. The sooner we get out of the rain, the better. See you all at the reception. Sorry, excuse me, sorry. Okay, scoot up this way. Tall, short, you know how this works. I hit class by you like that.
我非常怀疑他这个人照的哪搞的？
这是啥呀？这是？
好像让他介绍。
茶杯店。
Okay, everyone, Amy, right here.
我到这儿来。这他妈拍得到的。